Neoliberal capitalism. Neoliberal capitalism. Neoliberal capitalism. Neoliberal capitalism. Neoliberal capitalism. Neoliberal capitalism. I grew up in Lithuania in the early 2000s in a Soviet block of flats in Klaipėda. There I sometimes slept in a pigeon house. It was a tiny room within a room that my parents built within our crowded apartment. Through the window of the pigeon house, I looked at what people did all day. And now I look through that window again. People's jobs, whether chosen or not, come to define their identity and their perception of the world. Work is a real abstraction of value, just like capital or goods. Although these abstractions are intangible, their impact is material and structural. We wake up every morning and together make them a reality. In these video essays, I depict how jobs, commodity, and property have shaped the people I know best, my closest family members. In the previous video, I look at my mom's life, outside and on the periphery of employment. In this one, I focus on my sister's work at home, burnout, and the endless expectations for a career mother. Like my dad, my aunt, and my mom, my sister spent most of her childhood and teenagehood years in Klaipėda, the port city of Lithuania that I also grew up in. Her early socialization in the 90s was a period of extreme general confusion and adjustment. The older generation could transfer little knowledge about the new social order because they themselves were continuously figuring it out. In Vilnius, my sister studied, worked, burnt out, worked again, and started a family. Now she's raising 2 kids in the new suburbia of my hometown Klaipėda. Even though it has been some time since she last participated in the labor market, her life was still shaped by work. Because there is no real outside to the job market, just as there is no real outside to capitalism. She gets haunted by the social image of a double life, the career mom who should be able to do it all. What is the social contract for middle-class mothers? My sister's generation, the post-socialist millennials, were born into a Soviet reality that was both already absent and hauntingly undeniably there, only possible to be made sense of through generational memory. As the adults of the new capitalism were going through the centrifuge of shock economy, the 90s children were left to search for clues and authority that could not be located in the family. TV gave some. My sister went to an academically focused high school that my dad and aunt had gone to, and I did later. My sister got great exam results. In the 90s, popularity of vocational schools dropped significantly because of the dissolution of massive-scale centralized industry. University higher education stayed popular because it supposedly afforded more varied skills and it was a general status symbol. Most of our family members had gone to university, as did most of our grandparents. It wasn't a question. Why did she choose to study Bachelor of Molecular Biology at Vilnius University? Because she was interested since early on. Our grandmother was a dental nurse, she gave her tools to play, and told her explicitly that medical work is extremely hard. Because biologists would not be arrogant assholes. Biology and molecular biology are not the same, you know. Because psychology, which she was also considering, seemed at the time as a dead-bottom career that people who couldn't get in anywhere else applied to. Because of social pressure to get into a degree that is not easy to get into. Because both our parents, who are designers, have struggled to adapt to the new world order. Steer clear. So she got in. My dad wanted, my aunt wanted, my mom also wanted to be an artist. She did not, however, she didn't get into the Vilnius branch of the art academy. My sister got in where she wanted and immediately realized she didn't particularly want to be there. Switching degrees was unimaginable. Only fuck-ups did that. The theory of the fuck-up had already taken root. Under capitalism, you either flourished or sank. In USSR, the older generation just didn't have the option of switching. So my sister completed her degree. Why did she choose to study Masters of Medical Genetics at Vilnius University? Because genetics became much more prominent in public discourse and seemed like a genuinely fascinating field. Because the higher education ladder is one of the few comprehensible pathways that supposedly lead somewhere. The university is both a launching platform and a cocoon. Who sees students as children? So she got in. It turned out that the master's degree had extremely few employment opportunities. Most of the students went on to do their PhDs, and this was the expectation. Most of the labs who were hiring, medical geneticists specifically, were in the capital. Nevertheless, while still at her master's, my sister got offered a straight out of the university position and one of these rare special labs. This was a package deal. She could work at the lab part-time, but had to take on a full-time position as a senior specialist at the university. While working around scientists, the position of a senior specialist was more like that of a personal assistant or secretary. In other words, the bullshit job got parceled off to a young aspirational hire, together with a position at a leading institution. Laimutė Žilinskienė, researcher of post-Soviet generations in Lithuania, argues that age groups experiencing key socialization during economic crises tend to remain weaker in aspiration even as the economy later improves. Thus, system transformations and economic crises become obstacles to positive self-identification. My sister did not lack ambition. My parents had no strong career persuasions, while my aunt believed that honesty of work seems to many to at least give them a fighting chance. But enthusiasm, honesty, and aspiration can all be taken advantage of. As a senior specialist, my sister had the job of reminding people to do tasks when they could manage on their own, in Graeber's terms, a mix of a flunky there just to be subordinate, and a goon. Goons enforce someone else's power. At the lab, she certainly enjoyed the work, but not necessarily the working environment. But professional identity, being part of the working collective identity, as well as a romanticized image of the university were all very important to her. Together with a colleague, they joked their work was a playground for adults, just with added internal intrigue and hierarchical relations. While already working at 125% employment rate and still adapting to two fairly new jobs, she was also offered an opportunity to help implement a complex new research method, which she enthusiastically took up. She burnt out in a couple of months. In the Burnout Society, philosopher Byung-Chul Han identifies the contemporary achievement subject as being particularly prone to burnout and depression. The Soviet regime infringed negative freedom by enforcing and eliminating choice. The neoliberal society manipulates positive freedom through a constant, endless affirmative consensus. Young professionals struggle to draw boundaries and manage work-life balance. Employers and supervisors take advantage of this by promising actualization through professional identity. Competitive environments produce their own abusive internal logic, as well as strategies for its reproduction. My sister's burnout led to a period of unemployment and personal crisis that affected her relationships, mental health, and future planning. Nevertheless, after around half a year, she returned to the same two-job situation. But now it was more sustainable. She stayed there for 3 years, until her first pregnancy. During this time, she also got married. Why did she choose to study Bachelor's of Psychology in an accelerated program for students already holding higher education degrees? Because the university offered a 70% discount of studies for its employees, an amazing deal. Because psychology as an interest has been on her mind since the early years. At this point in time, it also promised good money, self-employed or as a salary. The Achiever Society is in endless need of therapy. Because she was getting bored of the current path and getting disillusioned with academia and the working environment. Reinventing oneself had become more normalized and fear of risk was lesser. Because she had a plan. Get 2 kids and use the years of maternal leave to finish the degree. She was told by multiple people that pregnancy was going to be an amazing time, so she could study, then work, be full of energy, and so on. So she got in. Reintegration into the job market is expected straight out of maternity leave, but as she was leaving her job, she wasn't so sure she would want to be back. How do mothers hustle? Motherhood is deemed a labor of love. Nurturing children, however, is necessary for social reproduction and is therefore socially enforced. It is simultaneously unrecognized as economically productive work and naturalized as the destined fate of women and so extracted freely. Women often work the double shift of work and housework with the third shift of emotional labor added on top. In post-communist countries, independence widely induced gender equality regression, whereby return to traditional family roles was seen as part of the nation-building ideology. This might have something to do with the linking between conservative Christian values and national identity. This later improved with joining of EU and has since stalled. When policies of long, well-paid maternal leave were introduced, it reinforced men's role as breadwinners. But is this the problem of policy or of the market? My sister's husband has inherited a family business. The business has provided a stable source of income that eventually allowed their family to take a loan and buy a house outside the capital. They moved into the house with the first child. A flat they had acquired earlier was now supplying rent. They got a second child. Because of the need for her husband to be closer to his business, because of my aunt's deteriorating health, because of the expenses related to the house they already had, they sold it and moved to the suburbia of my hometown. Her husband provides business earnings and helps with housework and childcare. My sister sees it as a sustainable system of distributed labor, based on mutual agreement and benefit. Each provides what they can. Mutualism, parasitism, subjugation. My sister has learned how to drive and her husband bought her an electric car. This has significantly simplified family logistics and is in general a great achievement for our immediate family circle, out of which none are drivers. One of her kids has reached school age and the other one is in kindergarten. While care work and housework are still abundant, a certain amount of free time has appeared. She can spend it as she wishes, and yet a sense of lack lingers. Philosopher Luce de Lire points out that our society does not afford many ways to communally raise kids, so it requires either absolute commitment or outsourcing. Not needing to go to work and being able to spend significant time with your children becomes seen as a privilege. Yet it is also deeply isolating. Because of the changing expectations of life trajectories, fractured communities, and individualism, capitalist societies outsource care work to underpaid workers within a privatized competitive care sector. Who is getting liberated? There is a new social contract for middle-class women. New contract means new expectations. What has been packaged as a project of gender inclusion in the market has a significantly longer list of expectations. The career mother is to lose nothing, achieve all. Education, purposeful and well-earning job, motherhood, a beautiful home, flourishing social life, and some method of continuous self-actualization and development. This project has no end, and so the aspirational self is made to live in a void of failed expectations. And what if you stay at home? Why is the suburban mom not allowed contentment? Is it boredom, kids, stuff. House. Or is it the expectation of a full double, triple, or quadruple life? And we are told to interpret stability as stagnation. Throughout her married life, my sister had fulfilled the caring needs of the household, cooking and cleaning, but also decorating and furnishing. And so she has also always been working. While still at the capital and taking care of the first child, she was speculating on how to reinvent herself. Was it a business or new studies? Inspiration, conviction, and commitment to risk are not so easy to assemble. As she spent more time away from the job market, the premise of waged work was becoming less convincing. Graeber points out that before the universalization of waged labor during industrialization, the premise of selling your own time instead of skills to survive would have seemed to many as complete subjugation. Maybe it takes the privilege of free time to rediscover this. When her first maternity leave ended, my sister did not come back to the 125% employment. Instead, she went on a second maternity leave. Psychoanalysis identifies desire as a lack. Under capitalism, desire is produced and turned into a need. There is no other system as proficient at organizing desire. Desire for commodity is a continuous driver of consumption, legislated through the idea of free choice. It is crucial to remain permanently unsatisfied so that frustration could be channeled successfully into the libidinal economy. My sister steered away from my parents' camp cottage core. She buys new objects, Lithuanian or Scandi in origin, and often dreams of restyling the home. Online shopping is overwhelming. Returning bought items has become easy. All is liquid, unfinished, into the open. Since no purchase is ever complete, no choice is final. Now she no longer wants new objects, something has reached saturation. Existing objects mostly shift places. Maybe the house is coming closer to completion. Choice has become the fundamental element of assessment regarding subjugation. Consent is the end of all conversations. In an active economy of desire, however, personal choice should not be seen as unmediated. Choices, desires, needs. My sister sees social media as enemy number one. There we continually interrogate each other's mode of living and shape desire. If we see capitalism as a lottery, we despise the small winners. Marxist theorist Jason Reed talks about negative solidarity. The belief that because one has suffered through work, or believes that they have suffered, then others should too. Any attempt to improve one's conditions is seen as a betrayal of the validity of one's suffering. A society of manufactured scarcity is a society of envy. To choose is a privilege, and it comes with anxiety and guilt. When my sister moved from the capital area, their social space fractured. Aspirational selves easily become inadvertent competitors. She has found new fruitful relations with neighboring families, as well as other women who have experienced similar reconfigurations of the social contract. On a weekend, her suburban street comes alive with grass sprinklers, grills, and the fences turn much more permeable. Since their family moved back into my hometown, out of the very few opportunities to get employed with her degree specifically, there remained a single one. She did interview for it. Retraining for medical geneticists into biomedical sciences, which ought legally to be offered, does not exist in Lithuania. Tough luck. While the career is sold as a space for agency and growth, very few have meaningful jobs that are not also continuously bordering on burnout or some other form of collapse. David Graeber points out that the ideology of work seems to assume an inverse relation between meaning and remuneration. If the job is meaningful, you shouldn't also expect to be paid. When the job is treated as the only space for social transformation, then the extractivist labor market becomes the only space for emancipation. And if my sister did find meaningful work in taking care of the children, the house, the garden, Would that not be enough? Rights, expectations, obligations. Is it morally abject to not work by choice? Is it that work mediates the guilt complex of the middle classes? The notion of social parasites is being pushed in conservative politics, but a more accurate reading would be of a society that leaves people out. Is it that work has taken up so much of life it is uncertain how to live otherwise? And so it is worth asking who my aunt might have been if she wasn't her work. Is it the sense of dependency or both internal and external expectations regarding gender roles that induce angst? Who sees the jobless as children? Is it the solitude of home and the lack of immediate experience of transformation? Like it or not, a job is one of the central ways in which most people relate to the social sphere. The Protestant work ethic rests on the premise that people are lazy in nature and cannot come up with anything better to do if not toiling. More and more commonly, in nuclear family structures, both parents are working in order to mitigate risk in increasing economic precarity. Is decreasing risk an obligation of the social contract? If my sister starts to work, it would require new distributions of housework and restructuring of how the family spends its time. The aspirational self requires constant speculation. Let's. When nobody knows, trust social institutions. Go to the unemployment office. She waits to be offered a low-wage job that she feels overqualified for. She realizes the expectations for the job are still high and it requires specific skills that are not self-evident but also not socially respected. When nobody knows, look for social purpose. Attempt to become useful to society through important but undervalued work. Find out it's still bullshit or burnout. When nobody knows, retrain. In an uncertain labor market, retraining becomes the norm. It is your responsibility to become productive again. When nobody knows, study more. My sister returns to study in order to get a degree in psychology at a local university. After the studies, she is able to get a job as a therapist. When nobody knows, teach others. She works for a tutoring platform online. She leverages the educational capital from her studies. After she grows in the company, she transitions to a higher-paying platform or goes self-employed. When nobody knows, do web development. She becomes a front-end web developer. She learns website design, applicable coding languages, and working with AI, which is now an unavoidable part of the industry. Will this remain a clear open option for career-changing professionals for long? When nobody knows, start a business. Join work and life completely, mobilize false scarcity and generate desire for commodity. Frame it as self-actualization. It is a small cafe. She makes handmade candles. It's a collaboration with her mom, helping her sell the Christmas toys, handbags, house decorations she makes. My sister learns how to advertise, coalesce with clients, manage finances, eventually manage employees. She gradually gains confidence and changes her outlook on business. When nobody knows, get involved in your husband's business. She starts with small responsibilities that she has a strong aversion to, but slowly gets used to them. Her responsibilities expand and she starts feeling a stronger sense of ownership. The business becomes a family matter and fully enters their everyday life and conversations. When nobody knows, monetize what you like to do. My sister starts working as a journalist, writing about developments in science and biology. She manages to get a part-time job at a local newspaper and writes contributing articles as a freelancer. She says if she didn't burn out from early admiration from teachers, she might have been a writer. When nobody knows, stay and attempt to find contentment. My sister continues taking care of the home and finds hobbies. The hobbies may become elements of the self project. She does more gardening and enjoys running the home economy. She loves her home. My sister wants to stop playing the game, but there is no outside to capitalism. becoming part of a place, feeling needed and useful, finding solidarity may all offer a shelter. My sister sees family as a cell of an organism, and taking care of that cell is one of the few non-bullshit reasons to go to work. Luce de Lire sees such individualistic family politics as a way to prevent larger social organizing. When we talk now, my sister has made some tentative decisions and is no longer stuck in decision paralysis. She will get a new personal laptop which affords optionality. She will try working at her husband's business and see how it goes. She will contribute to family finances directly, helping them afford the things they want, the luxuries of private healthcare and education, for example. Will she like it? Is that the main question to ask? How do we know which desires are manufactured and which ones are not? How to make the best use of educational privilege? Is private tutoring risk mitigation for the children of the rich? What does online freelance platform work teach us about capitalism? In the next video, I am my own subject. See you next time at the Pigeon House.